very good afternoon to all of you, cherished viewers of Hot Issues, and welcome to another exciting edition of Hot Issues. This afternoon, we are focusing on the NDC. In the course of this week, the NDC has been in the news again. You've heard from Member of Parliament for Yonyoda's Joseph Nabu talking about how President Mahama shouldn't be brought back to contest the 2020 elections. According to him, he definitely wouldn't win for the NDC. And so the NDC should look at bringing somebody else to contest election 2020. And then you've also heard from Yao Boatingjan, former national organizer of the NDC, talking about how the NDC was disunited in the build-up to the 2016 general elections and pretended as if there were other cracks in the opposition New Patriotic Party at the time. You've heard from the former national chairman of the NDC talking about how they haven't done things right. So what is the problem with the NDC? That is our focus this afternoon on Hot Issues. When I return after this short break, I'll be introducing my guest, and then we'll begin deliberations. This is Hot Issues, and I am Winston. I must stay with us. We're right back after this break. All right, so welcome back from that short break, and thanks for staying with us. My guest this afternoon is the national organizer of the NDC, and he was campaign coordinator during the 2016 general elections. Kofi Adams, good afternoon. And thank you, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, by the grace of God, I'm doing good.
What's happening within the NDC?
What's happening within the NDC? What happens in any political party is what's happening within the NDC.
What is that happens in any political party after they lose elections?
Oh, when you lose elections, you will go through a certain process. You will have to accept the outcome of the results. Situations will change. So sometimes you get some blame games that will happen. And after some time, you get your acts together. But the good thing about what's happening in the NDC is that we saw it because we have seen it before. When we lost the 2000 election, it took some time for us to be able to assemble ourselves and then to take a decision as to what to do moving on. This time around, even before we handed over power, still in December, we immediately constituted a committee, met at the National Executive Committee level. The National Executive Committee approved a program that came from Functional Executive Committee, that we established a committee to go into the reasons why we got the results that we got for the 2016 election. So this time around, we didn't even allow any time to lapse. We had not even handed over when we put in place the Professor Bochwe committee and indicated that once the committee is outdoored and it starts its work, it will have 90 days within which to submit its report. And that committee has been working. It's no different from what happens in all parties across the world, whether it is Labour Party in UK that lost elections, they are going through their processes, whether it is the Democratic Party in US of A that have lost elections, you see that they are going through a process. They have, because per the arrangement, it was almost time to elect the new leadership, and they have gone ahead and elected the leadership of the party, and so they are a bit focused on doing what it is that they must do immediately. So NDC is also going through that process, and I believe that we will get there. Except
that what?
That some persons who should possibly know better and know the platform to use are unfortunately not using that platform.
Why
and
do you think they should know better?
Because some have occupied very high position in this country before, or are occupying very high position as we speak now. And so I expect that they utilize the structure that we have put in place. If we had not created an avenue for people to present their case, then I wouldn't mind if you use the public platform. But once an avenue has been created, I expect you to use that. It's like our home. Can you imagine if you have somebody who lives with you, you have provided a place to use in peeing or like a washroom. Then this person decided that I will not use the washroom. I would come out to the yard where possibly daddy passes or sits with people publicly to engage, to come and pee there or to come and free myself. Then you should know that something is not right, unless the person just intends to embarrass you in public.
So what do you suspect?
So
an intention to embarrass the NDC or something?
We will want to. I want to use this medium to remind them that they should use the appropriate channel. You realize after some of them have spoken, subsequently, people who create negative news or even lies are creating stories and putting their names. You see them, they will do a story and then quote by Dr. Kwabena. They will do a story quote Amasana Mwale. They will do a story quote Yawati Njan. They will do a story and looking for names of persons that when they put that tagline on, it will be difficult or for people to say, oh, maybe he didn't say this. He did. By the time he comes back to come and react that I didn't say this, the effect, the negative effect has already gone.
If you make the point that people who do these things, if you decide to go and urinate outside, for instance, you're doing so to embarrass yourself, are you suggesting that these people are doing this thing just to embarrass, say, you or President Mahama?
That is what I will see sitting afar, especially that they are very much aware that the Professor Bocho committee is there and is working. It has not even submitted its report. I doubt even these persons who have spoken about why they think we lost have requested to meet the committee. And the committee says that, no, we will not meet you. Or have written a memo to the committee, and the committee have replied to the memo that we don't think that what you are saying makes sense and therefore we will not use it. I believe these are persons who are placed to be able to get to the committee. If our base supporters were doing this, I would have said it's understandable. We need to move down and quickly calm them down. Now rather we are spending energy trying to calm those at the top. And it is our base that is worried that the top is behaving the way it's behaving. I accept the fact that the base had some concerns prior to elections, especially the way and manner we did our biometric registration, where you can see a party branch chairman and activists of the party that have worked so well will not have his name in the register, or would have registered, but when the final data went in for the elections, the person's name is not there. I appreciate that fact that they had those concerns. But even then, many of them were willing to put this aside and work for the party. We are working around to make sure that we correct this. We cannot succeed if we have these levels of piecing in, piecing out, and so on and so forth. I don't think that we will succeed. And this is a program, it's a great program. I want to use it to appeal to our seniors, especially the experienced ones, persons who have had opportunity to serve the party and know the challenges of being in leadership, to use the structure that have been created.
But you, I mean, you had publicly said you took ultimate responsibility for the party's loss.
Of course, I'm a leader of the party, and we need to accept responsibility. We went into an election that we were going to win, and we thought we were winning, and we didn't win. Responsibilities must be accepted, and then we carry on. We need to apologize to our rank and file that sometimes somebody may contribute to something happening, but the person may not even appreciate immediately that he or she contributed to.
Did you contribute to us?
I'm coming. So to deal with the situation, what you do first and foremost is to bring an apology, then to calm down tempers. Then you can now move down to engage people, for them to begin to know that even though we lost, or you think that we lost because of somebody A or B up there, this is how we also in one way or the other behave to contribute to that. So in moving forward, let's do things this way, let's do things that way, so that this situation will not arise again.
Did you contribute?
But if you just stand there and then sitting here knowing what I know, then I start blaming persons like I hear some persons do. You go and grant interview and you say that, oh, the party has become, the youth are no longer willing to work, and then if you ask the youth to go and do anything, they are demanding money. You may be saying something that to some extent may be true, but this is not the time to say that. That's why you are a leader, or that is why you were a leader, and you should know. You have to wear your maturity cap to know when to speak some truths, to know when to hold back. There will be the right time when you start engaging the young persons to let them appreciate what it is that we must do. When you start engaging the grassroots to let them know what it is that we did that caused us this election.
Okay.
But at this moment, it is for you to take responsibility and apologize and calm nerves.
Okay.
Then we can start work. And when we start the work.
So, how did you contribute towards the loss?
Oh, of course. How did I contribute to
Because you
the
said
loss?
you must admit that you contributed. How did you contribute?
Every individual contributed. Maybe, possibly, I should have spoken more. Maybe I should have spoken more on what the great work that the government was doing or the party in government was doing. Maybe I should have organized much more interactions. Those are the things. Maybe I sit back and say, oh, I would wish that maybe, or I wish that I should have taken charge of this process, or I wish that I should have taken absolute control of the process of registering members and not possibly leave it to the committee or the body that was put in place to handle it. Oh, of course. Before even we entered the leadership, there was already a process to register this membership, and there was a committee in place. So you don't have a direct control over how that is done, and so there were challenges with it. At a point, you even want the data to use in managing the process of elections. It becomes difficult even getting the data extracted for you. We need to look at that and then find a way of dealing with party membership to make sure that we satisfy the concerns of those who truly want to be members and are willing to be members and go according to the dictates of the party constitution.
You know why the NDC lost the 2016 elections?
You can't know every reason. At least I know some, and that's why we've put in place a committee.
Because if you say you take ultimate responsibilities, acknowledging that this is what happened.
I have just told you that as a leader, every other person expects you. It's like a child who breaks the eggs that he's supposed to take home doesn't realize that the eggs were supposed to be used in preparing a meal for all of us. When the person is angry, he looks up to the father or the mother that you didn't provide food. They don't realize that you broke the eggs or you broke the pot that would have been used in cooking the food, and therefore new pot has to be bought. Maybe mommy has not got even money to go and buy a new pot at that moment. So you would have to accept that the child is angry. You deal with the anger that the child is complaining before you go on to do other situations. I will not know all the reasons why we lost. If we knew all the reasons why we lost, we would not have put the Professor Botre committee in place to go and work and get a lot more. Some of it may be perceptive, some of it may be the reality. Like I have said, there were some people felt that they were intentionally excluded from the register. May not be the case, but that is their feeling. So that, the national people did that intentionally to make sure that our names, those of us who were party members and were working, are removed from the register, so their favorite will emerge as the candidate. And so we to teach that person a lesson. We had such instance. But national may not have sat and purposed to do that. It may just be by accident that your name happened not to be in the register, or the booklet in which your names were captured did not get to the point to be entered.
Beyond this, what other reasons do you know caused the NDC's defeat?
Of course, you have an opponent who was constantly putting out falsehood, making sure that a certain falsehood is carried on through. You were rebutting? Of course, you were rebutting, but who says that when mud is thrown to a wall and then you peel it off, some dirt doesn't remain? Everything was done to show like that sole sourcing was criminal. That was how they put it. Indeed, they made it look like virtually every project that was entered into this country was sole source. But when you check the records, the percentage of sole source contracts under the NDC administration was far less than the percentage of contracts that were sole source under the previous MPP administration. But they made it look like it was evil, it was bad, and people will necessarily buy into it. They made it also. Look, you go to a community.
Yes, but what happens at the time?
Let me tell you.
Yes,
you go to a community where they need water. You've gone to solve their water problem by providing a borehole facility for them. Then when you have finished, thinking that you have brought development to them, people go behind and say, oh, the cost of this borehole, it could have done 3, so that they will put one in the southern part of town, one in the middle, and one in the northern part. So you don't have to walk long distance to get water.
Not true?
It wasn't true.
Well,
it wasn't true.
Which ones weren't true?
No, I'm saying that.
There was a case of bus branding, which created a lot of problems.
I'll come to the bus branding.
Yes.
I'm just giving you a critical example where maybe it will cost about 25,000 or 30,000 to put up a complete mechanized borehole with all the fittings and then overhead tank, or it may even cost you more. You go and do it. Then somebody will go and stand there, who to borehole? It's just about 5,000 or 10,000, you can do a borehole. And that the 30,000 that was spent could have done 3. The people there don't know the true cost. So they buy into the falsehood and think that, you have shortchanged them. Instead of doing 2 or 3, you did only 1. So they'll punish you and bring somebody else. So the development you send to them, which should have been a positive for you, now becomes a negative.
But can't you also tell the people, this is how much we spent, this is the right price?
I am telling you that, of course, Winston, we kept doing that. But the truth is that people may not buy and accept those things. Sometimes...
So it means you didn't do it well then?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe I said earlier.
Yes.
You asked, and I said maybe we should have spoken more. We should have done much more explanation. Maybe we should have done much more disclosure rather than thinking that, this one, because we spoke about it somewhere, it will be understood. Maybe some more debates would have been done. Example, you see, there's a village that government did a project for them, water project. And they didn't really, a message went that the cost was bloated. Until they changed the phase, they were using 2 phase, and now they increased the phase to that area to 3. So the power levels changed and it affected the machines. And they have to now replace the machines and do other fittings. Not all. It cost them over 35,000 cedis just to do the replacement of parts that were damaged. It was only then that they realized that the cost of the total project that people were deceiving them that was over-bloated was actually not over-bloated.
Yes, but Kofi, there were other projects. I mean, there was a talk of, for instance, if you get to the bus branding, people have talked about, the bus branding. Even your government.
Bus branding was something that I thought should not have happened, and that is why people suffered for it. You know that the minister lost her job, even though she was not. Yeah, she was not. She resigned.
So it was a decision she took.
Of course, as a result of that, she realized that maybe she didn't play her supervisory role appropriately. Not that she directly did it, but she thought that she could have possibly supervised better than she did. And so she resigned.
Good.
And I thought that meant that we saw it as something that was not properly done. And don't also forget that those who got the contract had the right to fight for what they got. But they also saw the sense in accepting to refund some of it.
So in that case, would you blame somebody who says that, okay, so there was a bus branding saga, which, for instance, the government says we overpaid, so we're taking 1.5 million off.
We don't have a government that is run all by angels who have eyes to watch everything. Indeed, sometimes they will bring you even a file. You may not even, a file before you may not even be able to go through line by line.
Why are you there?
That's what I'm saying.
You're supposed to supervise. The right things must be done.
We have talked about some of these things. And I will not sit here and try to blame some people. You see, people have the tricks. Those who have been in the business know when to push things onto a political head, and then they will be putting pressure that you are the one that is not looking to sign in the files. If you decide to spend more time to do sentence by sentence, it's out there. The minister is intentionally delaying.
He's doing the right thing.
He's not going through this and instead of the media that is supposed to inform and educate and possibly add the entertainment, they focus much more on the entertainment part of the story.
If you're put in there, for instance,
let me just finish my point. And so, in order to get that emergency thing going, also the person also rushed through. But this branding, because it was very clear that it was not an emergency project. So the minister herself, despite the fact that she has done so much, and I'll tell you that later, if you look at the work under her ministry, it is that one ministry that have now been hived to railways ministry, aviation ministry, and transport ministry. The agencies and things that were under her, now they have created 3 ministries out of 1. If you look at the work that she did there, it should tell you that this was a minister that was great at the job. Maybe she made a mistake there, and we have accepted that responsibility. And I think that does not mean that you should, based on that,
I give you an example, for instance, if you have a mining act that says within 3 months, you should give a response. And within that 3 months, you haven't given a response. You have set a law. All of us have agreed on a law. And the law says in 3 months, this should be done. If within that 3 months, you haven't given the reason, why would you blame somebody who says that you are delaying?
That's why I'm saying that they will say 3 months.
Yes.
And if you go and see the files that are before you as a minister, from all the other agencies.
It's a position of law.
That's why
the law says within 3 months.
That is what I'm telling you. That so sometimes you feel that, oh, since the thing has gone through various levels, your assumption is that you read the preamble, you read the summary, and you feel that, oh, all may be okay. So, minister, this is a signing page that you are supposed. Then you put your signature there. Okay, then it goes. Okay, you are supposed to, then you sign and you are. Meanwhile, there's something in there that, but for the legal position, if you had taken much more time to go through, if there was enough time, maybe you could have spotted.
Well, that's why you need to be a supervisor. That's why you accept to do the job.
That's why.
So you do. Once you accept to do a job, you must do the job. Anything that goes wrong, we hold you responsible.
I accept that. Yes, that you hold us responsible for some of the things.
I get back to you, Kofi. We need to go for a short break. When we return after this break, you remember the member of parliament for Yonyo, that's Joseph Nabu. He says, why would you want to take, in quote, an incompetent Mahama for election 2020? No, get another person. Get somebody who would listen to the elders in the party, and not somebody who would, flank himself by young men and women who can't even win constituency elections, and yet they advise him. When we return, we find out the future of the NDC come election 2020. Is it a JM 2020 or maybe somebody else? Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. All right, so welcome back from that short break, and thanks for staying with us. This is Hot Issues, and my guest this afternoon is national organizer of the NDC, and he was the campaign coordinator for the 2016 elections, Kofi Adams. Kofi, should Mahama be brought back? You seem to suggest that he should be brought back come 2020.
It's one of my prayers, and I will continue to pray that he accepts the responsibility and the call from the rank and file to contest.
Why are you pushing him to contest again?
He's not being pushed. It's what the party persons down there are really asking for.
Ghanaians rejected him as president.
Oh, of course, Ghanaians rejected Nanado many times as president.
He wasn't president at the time. John Mahama was president.
I'm saying that they rejected him when he contested against late President Mills. They rejected him still against President Mahama. They've accepted him now. It doesn't mean that they cannot reject him also tomorrow. So that doesn't make a case. We've had people who have lost parliamentary elections and have staged a comeback. They lost an election in their constituency for one particular election. They contest again and then they come back to parliament. So what about that also?
Are you not worried that for the first time in our politics, you had somebody, a sitting president, going for a second term and lost an election?
If you look at the democracies that are older than theirs, we have had instances where people have lost elections and have come back again and won.
So you want
if that's what you want to measure, our democracy is so short. We just started the consistent democratic journey in 1992. So we have not traveled that long to be able to have many examples. But when you go to those who have had long democratic trial, you could find out that people have contested and lost. They were incumbents, they lost, and then they stage a comeback, and then they win.
And there are other people within the NDC who can contest elections and win.
There are a lot of persons. You think that this program, if you are not around, somebody will not host it. Somebody will host it, and it will travel the same time. But when you are doing it, it's different. Maybe when that person is doing it, the person may be referring to prepare questions and the rest, but you have loaded everything in your head. You know the follow-up questions to ask upon an answer. That's the difference. So we are saying that you may have others who can do, but you may have the best.
The best is John Mahama for 2020.
I think for 2020, he's the best. And he should listen to the calls of the people and accept. Because first and foremost, he must accept to want to contest. Because if he doesn't accept, it means he's not even going to be part at all. And that is the plea first. That he shouldn't think that, oh, I was president and then we lost the election, so maybe I won't come. he shouldn't only think himself. He should also think about the concerns of the rank and file that are asking for him. And that is the prayer. It's not like, oh, he said I'm going, and therefore people are doing the bidding or endorsing him because he has declared that. Indeed, it's a plea.
There are those who think you are doing his bidding. There are many of you who are sitting back and saying it's a plea when in fact you're doing his bidding.
If it's not a plea, haven't you heard others also say, even some close associates say that he's not coming? You need to hear that.
I have, and that's
so
and
it
that's
should
the
tell
more
you
reason why I think that you should let him be.
It is as a result of that indication that has made the rank and file to start appealing that he should reconsider that position.
There are others who are interested.
Of course, nothing stops anybody from coming. Look,
Niamasana Mwale says he wants
in the year
to be a flag
2000,
bearer.
for the 2004 elections, who said people were not interested? But the party rallied behind late President Mills.
Because he contested.
He contested,
yes.
I'm saying, but the party rallied behind President Mills. Indeed, our founder of the party was very clear about his choice. And out of that contest, some people got angry, and then we lost our... Not that, if I say we lost, to look, he resigned. The MP for Amenfi West, then resigned.
Yes.
Kofi Adams. Abraham Kofi Adams, he resigned, and we have to go there for a by-election, which we lost. And subsequently, we took that seat back to... Before we went for the 2008 election, when we had the 2006 contest, clearly, there were clear indications that late President Mills was the choice, was the best choice amongst the lot. But three other persons came in. Alhaji Muhammad Idrisu, Dr. Kospio Gabra, and Edward Edianan. They joined, they contested. But the choice was clear. So it doesn't mean that because the rank and file are saying that, oh, this is what we think is the best, stops anybody from coming in to come and contest. Not at all. The party hasn't even opened nominations. The party haven't even reached... Is that
the more reason why you should be making a plea to President Mahama at this time?
You have to plead to him now so that he will start making his decision. You don't wait when nominations are open before you go in, because when nominations are open, it would have been too late. So the plea has to happen now, so that possibly if it is that there was any thought of not coming, he will start reprocessing his thoughts.
Have you spoken with him ever since you started making that plea?
No,
have you talked to him personally?
I will try and engage him very soon. But
I haven't spoken. So you're making the plea on...
Of course,
within the media.
Do you make plea?
You haven't spoken to him personally?
I will try and get through to him. I'll try and get through.
And if he doesn't?
If he doesn't, we'll let him know that this is what the party wants. And he needs to also consider. He has always considered...
How do you know the party wants that?
Because I've heard, I'm national organizer. How did you introduce me?
National organizer.
You introduced me as national organizer. So I'm in touch with at least a lot more of the party people than possibly any other person can do. I'm not in touch with all, but I'm in touch with a lot more persons than any other person can do.
There are names like Joshua Alabi. I believe you've heard of them.
Joshua Alabi is a great material. The NDC has a lot of material.
Is somebody you would like to support?
That will be prepared for an election any day, anytime.
So why the push for President Mahama?
We went for an election to elect a flag bearer in 2011 in Sunyani. He elected a running mate. July 24th, our flag bearer passed on. We still were able to get a candidate, and we went ahead and won that election. It tells you the material that we have in NDC.
So talking about the materials.
Except that for every elections, if you look at all the big parties, there may either be a choice or at least two for every election. In all the political parties, whether MPP, NDC, you can see that this is the favorite. For every elections, you have that. So I really would not see anything wrong for people appealing to, like you just mentioned. I'm sure people are appealing to Joshua Alabi. That's why you mentioned it.
Yes, we've heard of names of Sylvester Mensah. We've heard names of Julius Debra. These are names you've heard.
So if there's nothing wrong in appealing to this person, what is wrong with appealing to President Mahama also? Except
that you are a national organizer.
So national organizer, you don't have a right to appeal.
And they say whoever emerges victorious, you would have to work with. So why do you declare support eventually?
We are not going to conduct a primary. So that's another wrong thing that people get.
I know, but
very soon there will be elections. We are going to start elections from the branches, and there will be fresh elections. It is not this executive that will run.
Are you suggesting you wouldn't run again?
I may not run. Who knows?
Would you run?
I may not run. Let's get there and then we'll see. I may not run.
You're making a plea to somebody because you want the person to
Nobody
make a decision.
has made a plea to me to
Nobody has made a plea to you to run.
Yeah, nobody has made a plea for me.
So then can I suggest that since nobody has made a plea, you wouldn't run?
Maybe if nobody makes a plea, why should you go and run when people don't want you? When people don't want you there?
So as
you
it
are going to
stands now,
service
Kofi Adams is not thinking of running.
Because nobody has made any plea for me.
So you wouldn't
run? Decided. I've not. Nobody has made a plea. Neither have I decided. My focus now is to reorganize the party as if I am not even running. I want to make sure that the right things is that. Look, one of the challenges we inherited as an executive was that we had a poorly structured polling station. Most of the polling stations just existed, leadership existed on paper. At the point as national organizer, I requested the regions to try and forward to me the branch executives, the list and contacts. It never, only few succeeded in doing so.
Did you follow up?
Yeah, of course, I kept following up. So what I did later was to use another means to crop a certain data, which was the data we had collected of membership of all with that. So you now have to spend a longer time wanting to know who the executives are. We want to make sure that this time around, we hand over to the next leadership a very solid base. It's very important. And that, for me, it's my desire to make sure that the polling stations are really well structured, elections are conducted at the polling, so that it doesn't become by appointment, where maybe you go to a particular polling station, the father says he's the branch chairman, the wife is the women's organizer, the son is the youth organizer, the daughter is the treasurer, and then another relation is the organizer, and then the two others that are also immediate. So it's just one family holding everything. So the others say, Munkonkoye, like you do it, and then we also stay at somewhere. We want to make sure that there's enough participation at this level and have a solid structure there. Then out of that data, we will use for the next level and the next level and the next.
Before you hand over to the next.
Before we hand over, before we go and conduct the National Congress, and whichever leadership emerges can take over from there and carry on. Then they can do the other things. They will now come and set the guidelines for parliamentary primaries and presidential primaries as to whether people can endorse, individuals will have a right to support, or executives can have a right to support or not. They have to develop a guideline for the parliamentary process and the presidential process. Then we will do those ones. For now, we do not have any such thing. So it's just an appeal. And as a leader, I reserve every right to also appeal to somebody that I think that if there is any suggestion from somewhere that don't go, I also think that my appeal is that you should come.
Okay. Based on that appeal, we need to go for another break. In fact, our final break.
But when we were going on break, you introduced something. We never had a chance to talk about that. But when we come back...
When we come back, we'll talk about it. Don't worry. We'll talk about everything that I have introduced on the show. Of course, we also need to talk about the role of one man, seen as very important within the NDC. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, so welcome back from our final break. This is Hot Issues with me, Winston Amwa, and my guest is National Organizer of the NDC and Campaign Coordinator for the 2016 general elections, Kofi Adams. So, Kofi, before we get to the founder, yes, you mentioned the founder. We'll get to the founder, but so the Member of Parliament for Union has talked about how you don't have to bring...
I think his comment should just be treated as one of those things that people wake up in the morning, maybe they didn't sleep at the right place, and then they grant interviews. They themselves, when they sit back and look at the situation and review what it is that they have said, I'm sure if you take your microphones to Honorable Joseph Nabu now, he will not say the things that he said. Because clearly, this was a candidate that was our candidate in 2012 alongside President Mahama. They both made a little above 9,000 as parliamentary and presidential candidates for that constituency. 4 years later, President Mahama increased his votes from a little over 9,000 to more than 15,000. And you depreciate your votes from 9,000 to 7,000. And you are talking about somebody who appreciated his votes in your constituency.
So what's the
this
point?
way.
He doesn't have the locus.
I'm just telling you that you should just look at the situation before you put weight on what he has said. You depreciated by more than 2,000. He appreciated by more than 8,000. And you, so let's...
Was there any independent candidate in his constituency?
There were, just like the previous elections, there were other candidates.
Independent candidates from your party?
No, not from our party.
And he still
not from our, he still couldn't make it.
So we should
make it. So
disregard the statements he makes.
Look at the performance of President Mahama. Indeed, just this week, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was out there attending a program here in Geneva, and the record he's touting, for which he's inviting people to come to Ghana, is the President Mahama record. What he left, what he did, things that he did. Is this the record of an incompetent person?
Tell me.
Look around the country. Look around the solid infrastructure.
But Ghanaians felt he wasn't performing, so they voted him out.
Because people made it look like the infrastructure, we don't go chop infrastructure. Because if you put your hand in the pocket, money won't come.
But that's always been the campaign of politicians when they are in opposition.
You see, that
you
is
did
why
it in 2008.
You also have a responsibility to educate the people. Go to America now and see. One of the developed countries that people go to queue at their embassy wanting to go there. What are they telling us? They say their infrastructure is below standard. And that they have to invest heavily in infrastructure.
So then
that is the only way a country can go.
It must start from you, because
of course,
the politicians.
We have said so. That is why we said, look, Kwame Nkrumah, they did it to him. When he was doing that, they overthrew him. Later on, it is his project that we are celebrating. Other heads of state that have come and gone, almost a similar thing was done. So we must not make a mistake. But unfortunately, we made that mistake again. As human beings, we continue to learn every day. That is why you must continue to. That is why every day the men of God continue to preach and give sermon. Because if they ever stop, we will forget.
Okay. So what should be the role of President Rawlings?
I think he has a great role to play. This is his party, and he needs to show the continuous love for the party and make sure that he helps the party to once again get back to power. Both him and President Mahama, the two presidents that we have in the party, our former heads of state, have critical roles to play. They need each other to be able to make sure that the party is solid and moving on. He equally doubled as founding father and also the chair of the Council of Elders. So President Mahama automatically has also transited into the Council of Elders. And so now they would have a platform where they have to engage and be able to call possibly other elders. Dr. Kwabena J, our former chairman, is part of the Council of Elders. And so they must make sure that they used those platforms to do a number of things.
When your founder says, I mean, it's God's work that Nana Akufo-Addo and Major General Buhari have become president of Nigeria and Ghana, and that they would help fight corruption. What does it tell you?
It is God's work that Nebuchadnezzar became leader.
But he says they would help fight corruption.
That
he says they would help fight corruption.
It is God.
What does it tell you?
It is God. God has a hand in everything. If He doesn't permit it, it does not happen.
But what he adds is that
even when armed robbers,
he says even when fight corruption.
Even when armed robbers are going out to go and rob, they pray to God, and if God grant them, they succeed. They go out. So it is God's doing.
Yes, that he says they would fight corruption.
I want to answer you. It is God's doing that President Mahama should not win the elections, because possibly if he did, some others had prepared to do other things. Whether they will fight corruption or not, you and I will wait to see, because at least we were in this country, we discussed what went on in the party finances, when he had the opportunity to lead. Now he has the opportunity to lead the country. We wait and see what will be happening in terms of finances. And so far, I haven't been impressed about what has happened in this short period, in decisions that the President Akufo-Addo government has taken. Look at the size of government. The ordinary people are worried. The market women are paying tolls and taxes and the rest that we should use to develop the country. We are going to use it to take care of a fat government. The cost of taking care of a minister is close to about 100,000 cedis. At the Southern College, it's reducing their admissions because they say they don't have facility.
A month?
Yeah, a month.
Really?
That's what experts say, that it will cost from the housing to gas to housemaids to all those things, fuel and everything. By the time you add all that up, you will be getting to 100,000 a month. At the Southern College is reducing their admission by 50% or population by 50% because they don't have enough dormitories. 2 months' pay of this minister that has been added could build a whole dormitory for Asiedu College. And I thought that prudence should have informed the appointment of 2 ministers of education and 2 deputies, which 1 minister could have done and 1 minister had done in the past. Prudence could have informed us that if we appointed just one minister for transport, it would be enough instead of having aviation and rail. I think that President Akufo-Addo's government of 110 ministers is bad. It's a bad decision. It's going to affect this country. We cannot justify this. The poor people who are paying their taxes, the poor farmer whose cocoa we have to go and sell to get money to come and develop, we want their money to be used for something profitable, as President Mahama was doing, rather than being used to pay salaries of a large government and also to use in paying ESBs and then ex gratia when they have finished serving their term. Not at all. That's not what we want.
But if President Rollins says these people would help fight corruption, you say we will see, but that means he has faith in them.
I don't doubt.
And it means he doesn't have faith. He didn't have faith in John Mahama to do so.
I don't doubt the faith that people will have in people. All I'm saying is that we are going to watch.
But that's the founder of your party.
I'm saying that I don't doubt the faith that anybody has in anyone. I am only telling you that if I look at the decisions that have been taken, I don't see prudence. You cannot come and tell me that things are not good, the economy is not good, and then you volunteer to spend 20 million CD for an anniversary. You cannot come and tell me that things are not good and then you
to be funded mainly from the corporate private
Did we see
sector.
that? Did we see that?
There were some donations.
How much was donated? And how
I haven't
much
checked.
So it tells
We
you.
need to find out from
If
the committee.
we could have used the opportunity to raise those monies and even go and build something and say that we have built this thing for 60 instead of just using for dinner. The dinners that they did across, it cost us so much money. And I think that so far I haven't seen prudence. The decisions that they have taken, I don't see it as prudence.
You're talking about building e-libraries throughout the country as a way of marking Ghana at Ghana 60 years on. They would say, I'd say Ghana at 60.
E-library, I'll go for it. I'll support e-library any day. But that could be done, and could be done in many other ways. Not the dinners and the rest that they were doing and dancing around. Not that.
So, getting back to the NDC now.
We have talked enough about it.
We'll come back
I thought
to
that we should talk about Ghana.
Oh, you want us to talk about
Ghana.
Well, we definitely would talk about Ghana, but when it gets to President Mahama, finally on President Mahama, there are many people who have blamed those around him for his loss.
You see,
should he come back, what would happen? What would you advise happens to those around him?
You know, you always get people being blamed for this. When we lost the 2000 elections, they blamed President Rollins that he didn't sack some of the old people, that he should have sacked some of them and brought the young people, new people. He should have heard that he should have sacked the Kwabena Jais, he should have sacked all the old people who were still holding ministers, were ministers for a long time. That was the reason people advanced. Today, it is that they were fairly younger persons. So for any time something happens, people will find a reason for why it happens. For me, cool heads must prevail. We need both. And I didn't think that President Mahama's government or advisors were made of only young persons. Indeed, President Mahama consulted broadly and got directives from various persons. I'm aware that he had a few interactions with the former president to pick information. He picked information from various persons, and at the end of the day, you have to take a decision. That decision may be right or wrong based on the information that is available to you. I'm sure that afterthought, if you give all our leaders, President Rollins, President Kufuor, President Mahama, opportunity to go in again, there were things that they did that they will not do them same. Today, if they give you the chance to be born again, to travel through the journey that you have traveled, there are a number of things that you look back and say, I wish I didn't do this, or I wish I did this. And that is why I see President Mahama will be one of the greatest leaders that we would have in the Fourth Republic, at least in this short time, because he would have had the experience of being in, being out, and coming in again. Nobody else have had that.
And so when he comes back, you're sure that, well, if he comes back, you're sure that...
When he comes back. I like the when he comes back.
When he comes back to contest.
When he comes back
when he comes,
as president.
Well, let me say, if I say when he comes back to contest, as if I'm writing everybody off. But if he comes back to contest, you're sure he will make changes?
Nobody will repeat things that people
including changing some of the people around him.
Of course, you see, in politics, you need to also listen to people. You must not spend so much energy trying to explain. Sometimes you have to listen to people. It may not be right. The concerns they may be raising may not be right. Like people will say, oh, this person is too much around. If someone is, for example, your spokesperson, the person cannot be mostly too far from you to be able to know most of the things that are happening. The person must necessarily be around, and the cameras will be seen to be capturing that person a lot more. So you will have concerns like the person is too close.
Kofi,
the time is up. We have to do part 2.
We have to do part 2. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Kofi Adams, National Organizer of the NDC and Campaign Coordinator during the 2016 general election. My name is Winston Amwa. Do have a lovely weekend, and thank you very much for joining us.